friends. Welcome to Flosstube and Variety Show number 146. Today is Friday, February 28th, the very last day of February. I'm Emily Williams in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and you can see out the window behind me. It's a lovely day. Temperature is around 68, 65 degrees, something like that. We've had some days in the 70s. The daffodils and hyacinths are about to bloom. I mean, I have some early daffodils that probably will bloom in the next day or two. And in fact, there's a variety called Teuber daffodil, which are about this tall, 6-7 inches tall, and they put out perfect little miniature yellow jonquil daffodil flowers, perfect little miniature ones. And I usually would be able to say it is March 1st because they started blooming today. I was looking out in the yard. I think it's possible that some will come into bloom tomorrow, March 1st. But anyway, this is Flosstube, which means cross stitch, and Variety Show, which means something else. And we'll discover in a little while what something else is. But first, cross stitch. Margaret Hutton. Does it have a year? It's interesting, it doesn't have a year. And it's also interesting that I've only just now noticed that it doesn't have a year. Anyway, Margaret Hutton. I expect within the next 3 months or so, this will be in general release from Hands Across the Sea. It's a Scottish sampler. It was the project, the retreat project for the workshop that the Queen City Sampler Guild had with Nicola Parkman last year. Lots of specialty stitches in it. And I am determined to finish at least the specialty stitch part of it by May 1st. So I have, let's see, March and April. I have 2 months. So this is the whole thing. I finished, now that top alphabet is completely finished, both rows of it. The numbers are finished, and I'm almost finished with the square, the 4-sided stitch row, which I was working on last night, and then I decided, you know, Emily, you have to just accept that you're not going to finish it before your video, so I didn't. Then I have that illuminated letter row, and then the eyelets, the capital letter eyelets, and then beneath that capital letter eyelets row is a row of checkerboard eyelets. Those are eyelets right there, big one. Actually, this narrow roll beneath the 4-sided stitch is miniature eyelets, tiny eyelets. So I have a bunch of eyelets to do. Fortunately, I don't mind doing them, and I really like the effect. So I worked on that. I had planned, I decided I would work on it at least 4 days, make it my major focus at least 4 days in February, which I did. This is Nancy Cook, 1821, I think. This is a special retreat, a pre-workshop sampler for the Mrs. Parkman's Academy of Needlework, Swindon, England, which will be this October. It's the 3rd edition of the Great British Sampler Weekend, and I've been working on the lower half of it. I finished the upper half, and I have X, Y, and Z in the rice stitch alphabet, and then her parents' names at the bottom, which I just think this is so charming in a very quirky kind of way. Samuel and Laner Cook are the names of my honorable parents, she says, and she doesn't spell honorable in the way that I would spell it. And then these sort of random things down at the bottom. Anyway, so it's not much to go on that. I didn't think it was realistic I would have finished it by the end of February. I hope to by the end of March, though. Let's say that. And then the next step on that, as you can see in the photograph, this half I did on a different piece of linen, and this half. And so you have to sew the two halves together by hand using a felled seam, which I know how to do. That is, I know the mechanics of doing it. I've never done it by hand, so we'll see. Of course, I'm going to show you Hannah Green, 1826. This is the Queen of the May Sal piece. I've talked about the Sal and the goals of it a lot, but so I won't go over all that again. If you're new to the channel, welcome. And if you want to learn more about that Sal, go back to video number 139. And so here's where I am. And this vertical area here is January and February completed. It is just so beautiful. I mean, the colors are just beautiful. So vibrant. I so enjoy working on that. So March's section is a couple of red chrysanthemums and this blue flower, and all the way down to the bottom in the vine part of the border, and then this house and this weird little tree right there. And then April will be the first full coverage section down here. And then to take a break from full coverage, we'll move back up and start the over one and this section right here in May, if you do it my way. People are doing it all kinds of different ways. One of the people who's part of the Sal, a couple of people actually, are working across. One of them explained that because she has a millennium frame, that is, and using scroll rods, that is absolutely the way you would have to do it. So do it however you like. And I also worked a little bit on Jane Thompson, 1838. This is the Scarlet House. This was originally a homespun needlework cross-stitch Facebook group offering, which is when I got it. It's now a general release, and I desire to, hope to finish this year. I've been working on this band beneath the words. That's primarily what I've done. And of course, I still have to repair the vine part of the border down there. But I love the flowers around the border. And then when we get down to the bottom, there's this house. A lot of stitching here with some flowers going up it, and then these different motifs. I have not done this yet. I decided I would wait until I finished the band, and then I would do that. That goes here. It's sort of a rose bush, I'm gonna guess, right there. And of course, every one of these little flowers around the edge, it's easier for me to show you here. Every one of these is, I think, about 100 stitches, 110 stitches or something, in 3 or 4 colors. So that's, each one of those is close to an hour of work, actually, at least the way I stitch. So it's not close to being done, really, but it's very nice, and I like it. I've said so many times, when I'm working on it, it's hard for me to make myself stop working on it. So that is what I've worked on this week. This weekend is the first weekend in the month, which maybe 2 or 3 years ago, Laura and Brenda of Brenda and the Serial Starter started a hashtag with the idea that everyone should work on a Blackbird design piece the first weekend of every month. And I have carried on with that. Almost every first weekend, I've worked on a Blackbird piece. And I didn't bring out what I'm working on now. It's a little drawstring bag design from Winds of Autumn. I cannot remember the name of it, Sunflower or something, I think. And I will be working on that this weekend, and I'll show you my next video. And then the other, just to remind you, because if you want to get going on this, you may want to give it some thought. The third weekend of every month, I and a few friends work on Christmas stitching. And we have a hashtag Nativity Sal. And it doesn't have to be religious Christmas. It can be Santa Claus and such. It could be Hanukkah, you know, winter holiday stitching. The piece I'm working on now, which I think I showed you last week, is a winter piece. And it's a winter piece in name only, and the fact that it has a lot of green and red stitching in it. But anyway, I am using Nativity Sal to give myself a weekend every month to work on it. Again, the third weekend of every month. So you have some time to get yourself together on that one. The other thing I forgot to show last week, I'm a member of the Fox and Rabbit Patreon group. And I really, well, they're just fun people. And I look forward, I believe I'm going to meet them. I think they're coming to England this fall. So I'm looking forward to meeting them. But this is the tier that I'm in. We get fat quarters of their fabric every quarter, 2 fat quarters. So this is 18 count Ada in the color Barely There, a fantastic sampler color. I have some samplers that I have begun to kit up that I think I might use that fabric instead of what I've already pulled out. And then this is just so pretty. What a beautiful pink fabric. This is 36 count linen in the color Faded Valentine. Let me see, is it showing up properly? I don't know. It's a beautiful color. It's not as orange. If this looks orangey, it isn't at all orangey. It is a pure, beautiful pink color. I have a small chart that has rabbits that is designed to be stitched on white fabric with pink variegated thread, but I could see doing it on pink fabric with red variegated thread. I think that would be really pretty. It's not very large. I can't remember the designer. Anyway, that was so pretty. All right, what else is going on? I do have an actual variety show topic, but first I will say that today is my last official day as interim facilities manager. Now I'm continuing in the in my contract work for our church, so I'm not back to full retirement yet. In the next 2 weeks, I'm giving my full attention in terms of my part-time hours to training the new facilities manager whose official start date is tomorrow, but his first day in the office will be Monday. And I'm looking forward to it a lot. I like him. I had the chance to meet him during his interview process. I didn't interview him, I just met him. He and his wife have visited Iceland. They have visited Scotland, I think, or Ireland. Anyway, they've done some traveling that I either have done, I've visited Iceland myself, or want to do, which is to visit more of the British Isles and Ireland. But anyway, I'm looking forward to talking to him about that, and I think he's going to be a great fit for the role, and I'm looking forward to touring him around and talking about the status, giving him the state of the facilities as I understand them. And I think that will be really interesting and fun over the next few weeks. And then when I taper off on that, I will be ramping up some business office help, which I'm looking forward to that as well. That's really right up my alley. So that's fun. As I mentioned earlier, we've had beautiful weather, so that's nice. We're going tomorrow up to Boone to celebrate our daughter-in-law's birthday. We're going to their favorite restaurant, which is called Mint, and it's an Indian restaurant. And I'm pretty sure her dad and his wife are going to be there, and possibly her grandparents. So that will be fun to see them, and we always enjoy being with them. After we've had lunch, we will drive the extra 45 minutes or so to their place in Eastern Tennessee. And we're so happy to be celebrating her birthday, and we're also fascinated to see what things look like up there. We have not been up there since Hurricane Helene, and I think that there will have been some road repairs and bridge repairs and things like that. At least they have told us that we won't have any trouble getting anywhere. But we expect that the rivers and the areas alongside the roads and some of the housing that we can normally see from as we drive along will have been affected. We'll be driving through Banner Elk, which is a beautiful little tourist town, which I think was affected. Boone itself was flooded. Now, Boone has flooding a lot. Mountain communities, maybe paradoxically, do have flooding, but Boone was quite flooded during the hurricane. And I don't know if we'll be able to see damage from that or not, but it's going to be interesting to be up there. And of course, we're looking forward to seeing Scott and Natasha. But now let's get to the real variety show, which today I have an actual topic that's not just my meandering thoughts. So what I wanted to talk about is games that are resource management games. Now, the first one I'm going to mention has become a classic, and if you play family strategy games at all, you probably have played Settlers of Catan or Catan. You probably, and if you haven't played it, you've probably heard of it because it sort of opened the door to the idea of family strategy games. And it won the Spiel des Jahres in 1995, so it's a pretty old game now. It's 29 years old, 30 years old, I should say, 30 years old. And in this game, the resources are things that you roll the dice to get from the board, depending on where you have built your settlements, and then you trade resources to get victory cards, is basically, or structures that win you victory points. And so that is basically how that one goes. I think I've shown Race Arcana before. This is another resource management game where you have cards that you can put in play that give you access to, I think they call it mana, which is, it goes with some of the concepts introduced with Magic the Gathering. And you're trying to build monuments and, essence is what they call it. You make use of places of power and things like this. It's sort of Race Arcana means magic, basically. It means arcane things, specialized, hidden things is what Race Arcana means in Latin. And this is a game, it's a very good game. Anne and I have enjoyed playing it. It also has at least one expansion. But the reason that I even thought of this topic is because I was given this game this week, Century Spice Road. And this is by, the designer is Emerson Matsuuchi, a W in his name, a double U in his name. And it's by Plan B Games. And it is apparently part of a 3-game set, which are called Century, and then they have different things. This is the Spice Road game. And I was given this by 2 of my colleagues this week at the church to thank me for stepping in as interim, which is such a nice thing. I was very touched. And then my boss sat down with me and played it. So we sat there at my desk and played it the other day. And this is a game where you are, you're using, it's sort of a deck building game where you use cards in your hand to get little colored cubes which represent spices. Can I remember what the spices are, what the colors are? It's yellow is turmeric, red is saffron, green is cardamom, and brown is cinnamon. And that is also the order in which their value increases. So turmeric is worth 1, basically, and cinnamon is worth 4. Now, that is not how the costs of spices run in our supermarkets, is it? Not at all. But that's what the game is. So you're trading spices, you're using cards to get the ability to trade up and down the rankings, and then you're trying to buy, what do they call them? Victory cards, basically, but I can't remember. There's a special word for it. Anyway, this is, I think, a fun game, and I'm looking forward to playing it with other of my gaming friends. So if you are one of those people and you're watching this, you can just contact me and sign up for a gaming slot. So those are 3 games. I have many other games that are, I mean, a lot of games are basically resource games. I mean, even Monopoly. You gain the resource of money, you use it to buy properties. The properties get you money, the money gets you hotels, the hotels get you money, and so on. A lot of games are resource management games, but some of them are more pure resource management, and I think that Spice Road qualifies as that, as a pure. I mean, even Ticket to Ride, you're using turns to get cards of different colors, and then you trade the cards to get train segments, which give you points. So many games can be reduced to that idea, but these particular games, I think, are more purely resource management games. So that, you know, believe it or not, this is about all I plan to talk about today, which makes this a record short video. I hope that you won't be disappointed, and some of you might be relieved. One of the YouTubes that I watch regularly, Flosstubes that I watch regularly, is Renewing Stitches, Amy. And Amy often comments that she knows there's so many Flosstubes out there, and she doesn't want to keep you too long so that you will be able to go ahead and watch someone else. And I certainly feel that way. I'm very grateful that you watch me, and I don't want to keep you too long because I know you want to get on to watching someone else. And by the way, someone else you really, I'm hoping you're watching, is Sean Parrington. Parrington? I think that's her last name. Periwinkle Stitcher. Now, her videos are long, and they're only once a month, usually. I mean, she's a delightful person. She lives in Wales. She has a lovely accent. For us Americans, it's an exotic, lovely accent. And she does all kinds of things: cross-stitch, embroidery, quilting, some knitting. Anyway, beautiful work and a lovely person, and she has always some interesting things to show. Anyway, as I said, I appreciate you watching me. Join in the Sal, the Hannah Green 1826 Sal if you want to. Nativity Sal, Blackbird, BBD Weekend Sal this weekend. All kinds of Sals. There's always something to do. And I hope that February has proven to be a good month for you, and that March will start out. So traditionally, March comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb. I hope that it will not be very much of a lion for wherever you live, unless you really want bad weather, in which case I hope you get a huge storm. But that's all I have to talk about today, and so I thank you for watching, and many blessings to you, friends.